All right, continuing with part 2, now we still at the hyphens and breaking words. You want to try to avoid breaking words. If you have very narrow columns, then you might have to do this with longer words, but I would say you could, in the paragraph settings, you should definitely set it to at least 15 letters per word, not to break it after that. After that, I think you can go ahead with that. But in German text, actually, it would be even longer because words are usually longer. If you adjust the kerning and letter spacing of the paragraph just a little bit, it might switch it around. You get less of a rag and it's more comfortable to read without all these hyphens to break. Acronyms like USA and NASA, or then it's nice to use them in small caps so they don't stand out as these large caps in a text, because they're still sort of to us read as one word. So it would be nicer if you make them just a little bit smaller so they don't stand up so massively. If you have a word at the very, very last end of a paragraph and it's there by itself, visually it's just not very nice to create this kind of like awful rag at the end of it. It's also, you could just move another word into the line at least, so it does have a sort of a reason to exist. If there's only one word on it, it just like seems to be so much unused space for no reason. I worked in marketing for a long time, so there's this tendency to emphasize everything that you say. Everything is a catchphrase right there, and you overuse the all caps. It becomes a screaming match. Don't do that. I think it's nice to stay with the upper and lower cases. They're there for a reason, because they're easier for us to read. So don't emphasize everything with all caps. I think a big mistake. If you have a list and there's any way you can do this with your formatting, it is kind of nicer to have hanging bullets on the side. Even for the quotes, if you can have them outside of your text blocks, it's considered a very aesthetic choice of typography if you can have hanging quotes and bullets. If you have special characters like these N dashes, M dashes, and so on, and you use them in an HTML, it won't really apply to printed, but if you have a formatted resume on the web, you should make sure that you're using characters that every browser reads, and quite often these special characters will come in as little tofu boxes if somebody doesn't have that right typeface or so. So if you have umlauts and accents, it could be very important for some names. The way to pronounce them, it really changes it. So make sure that you use the web characters for this that can be read in every browser. Of course, on a resume, you're using a lot of numbers, and these can be a problem if they're old style numbers because they go up and down. I don't know why people really stuck to this so much and like that. But if you have a lot of tabular data, it's visually nicer to use the new modern style numbers. So when you choose a typeface, maybe you want to just double check that your numbers are something that will be very important on a resume. Or make sure that those have really good numbers and very solid numbers. Also, if you have a lot of lists, you might want to consider numbers that are monospaced, so that these kind of line up. When you have all these years lining up to each other, you want to make sure that they don't like jump around a lot. If they're like thinner, if they have a lot of ones and they become not monospaced, then they won't align anymore, or have a lot of telephone numbers or so, that might look ugly. So look out for monospaced fonts that might be appropriate for that. Then there are a lot of different brackets that we use. Be careful that you use the right ones. There are parentheses are for these to put things aside, to put things in like on the side. Brackets are used for quoted materials, and braces are usually just used in code, very hardly ever in type, maybe for paragraphs in like laws or so, but not much for us. I love when a typeface has ligatures. That means that there are two typefaces that are put together, like the F and I in this case. But there could be ligatures for all sorts of letters. I think it's just beautiful. If you have an eye out for typography, everybody like loves to see them. If there is a typeface that have has ligatures, definitely use them. So that's it for the typography for lawyers. Here's a lawyer dabbing in court. Apparently that's not illegal to do. So now we have really strong typography on your resumes. Make sure that you double check on those little details. I think it will really set you apart from the rest. And thank you.